Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Andrew Norris, aka Judge Arcadia. You can follow me on Twitch or on Twitter at the same name, Judge Arcadia. Do it.
My name is Jesus Gutierrez. I go by One Dragon Army on pretty much every social media, Tumblr, Twitter, and that's also my summoner name. I think we should lay down some ground rules for what we're doing here. I'm not sure if it's best to analyze these champions' designs in a void, or if we should match them up against the hypothetical, somewhat ideal or at least balanced composition.
I feel like in a vacuum would be best, and then do a more situational,
Okay.
personally. Because,
Okay.
on paper you can think of something like, oh, that sounds broken, but then in practice, like, that's weak as hell.
Mm. So we're starting with Aatrox here. We're gonna go A to Z. Now I do have some bias against Aatrox because I felt like they destroyed his theme when they reworked him. He's just completely gone. And
I, on the other hand, disagree with that. The only thing I dislike about his rework was that he went from that quiet, calm, rage-filled thing to more outwardly, but that's more fitting for the warrior side, but less of this warrior poet they originally had him for.
yeah, I mean, I guess thematically is not the wrong word. So much as it's a different character,
Yeah, that's
which
fair.
which makes me biased. But if we go and we think about, let's think about his actual design. So passive, I mean, it's a sustained passive, and
Death
it's kind of
Bringer
long.
Sands, yeah.
There's not
My
really.
only, yeah, it doesn't. It has a lot of power to it, and you do feel it, so that's really good. Mm, I have nothing really against Aatrox as a whole, because typically Aatrox, through all the since his rework to current iteration, he's been very strong. But he's had noticeable weakness, and frankly, they got rid of the one thing that made him absurd, which was the revive on the on a revive passive on his ult.
Yeah, he no longer revives on death in his ult. And I mean, they removed the revival from the original kit. I don't think the revival was ever really necessary. I'm kind of glad it's
I
gone.
agree. I agree. It just felt tacked on, just like, oh, he's this undying warrior. Well, how do we do
I
that here?
mean, it was tacked on because they wanted to be like, look, he still has his revive. He's the same. But I mean, in
And,
okay, in a top lane, like let's think about the 1v1 scenario. I think Aatrox is a lane bully, and
he is.
I have mixed feelings about lane bullies because I think they do need to exist, but I think there's a fine line between bullying a late game carry and destroying them so they can't do anything, and just
Yeah.
bullying everything that isn't a late game carry along with it.
Aatrox was, I'm the best. No one comes near him. That's how good he was in the hands of someone who knew how to play him perfectly.
He
Like,
made a new Aurelia bar is what he did.
he did. Like, you can be bad with him, but it doesn't matter because that third cast on his Q was so, it so hard to miss that. Like, sure, you missed the first one, whatever. You missed the second one, okay, whatever. But then the third one, he just, flashes on you and boom, you're dead.
The thing that I hate is that one thing that's very important in League is being able to punish people for going for CS. It's a very elementary skill that gets lost on 80% of the player base. Like, so many people don't understand the importance of that. And one thing that Aatrox does very, very painfully is punish you from a distance while being melee in a melee matchup. So it's like you go for a CS, he smacks you at the sweet spot. You go for a CS, he smacks you at the sweet
You
spot again
try to
and
run
kills you.
away, he smacks you again and locks you up.
He's Riven 2, and it's just
He's a he's a better Riven.
he's a
He
better
is.
Riven with healing. Yeah, because he's not restricted on range, and his CC is more consistent and far or longer ranged.
And in my opinion, yeah, because of the multiple Qs that he hits you with and popping up for that.
He just
Whereas Riven, you know what Riven is going to do. She has to all in you. She dashes in, stuns you, and that's it.
yeah. I think I don't. I think Aatrox. I think he could have been good design.
I don't think he's poorly designed. It's just at this point he's a numbers problem, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Well, see, that's my
Which
issue.
they
I
just
think
needed.
that a design should never come down to oh man, we have to balance these numbers perfectly, or it doesn't work. Because in that sense, I feel like you've already
Aurelia.
failed. Aurelia, like That's why they reworked old Akali, because like if you had her numbers just a hair in the wrong position, she would just 3-dash you to death, and there was nothing you could have done about it.
That's we'll get to her in a
We
second.
will get to Akali. She's in the
she's
A's.
like number 3, so we'll be right there.
It's interesting because like
I
okay,
have words to say about her.
Aatrox's W, there's no issues. It's fine. Like you dodge it and you're fine. If you get hit, it's almost definitely your fault. E, it's just a small dash.
It's just movement. It's utility.
I don't like that his dash lets him reposition his Q though, because it's like constantly up, and it punishes you even harder. It gives you even less time to react. So it's like, what is the outplay?
Yeah, you don't outplay anything about that. It's just he dashes in and suddenly, haha.
It's like, oh, he missed his Q. No, it's right on top of you.
He cast his Q too soon. No, he hit me with it. Son of a gun.
It reduces the reaction time that you have to it insanely high. So again, it just makes it way easier for him to punish you early game than many other champions, I should say. It's interesting because I think Aatrox's weakness is being all in so that he can't space you. But this is a MOBA, not a fighting game. So
exactly.
With jungle pressure, that's bad. That's really bad. Like if the way you win is all inning someone, I just don't like that design, because then it really does become jungle pressure. But I guess that's just like a solo queue versus pro play.
Yeah, and that's why he has
organized play.
That's why he's had great success in both organized play and in solo queue, because he's been either
you can
absurdly overloaded or, hey, look, coordination. Yeah.
I think my diagnosis on Aatrox is really, really overly, or not really, just overly strong in solo queue, and I mean balanced in an organized team setting, because then you can play around your jungler.
Yeah, so, I agree with that.
Yeah. Who's next?
Ahri.
Ahri's interesting.
I love Ahri because looking at the Season 10 champions and looking back at all the other champions, she still feels good. She feels like she can compete with the Season 10 champions. She doesn't feel like she's falling behind because she is all about that outplaying, and she's got her Q. Boom, true damage from that, whatever. I was
about to say, she has true damage.
She's got her... True damage is... I have mixed feelings about true damage.
Yeah, I think
if it's percent true damage, I hate it. Like Vayne, Set, I hate that. Fiora, I hate it. But if it's flat
Set
like
doesn't have percentage true damage, but he has a different issue with his true damage. I think true damage is like, it needs to be used very specifically, and a lot of times it's not. It's just not. Like look at this.
It's just tacked on.
Ahri's true damage ratio is technically 35% AP. That's how much she gets, because it's not the first hit; it's only the second hit. Exactly. So it's like Ahri's not doing all that much true damage. It's just enough to give her a little more punch.
Exactly. But the rest of her kit, it feels so good. It flows well together. She typically, when she starts off a combo, she's either throwing the ult out or she's throwing the charm out, and depending on what hits, connects, she blows you up, because that's her job. She's an assassin burst mage. Frankly, it worked well. And while she's had problem in the past, currently, as of 6/24/2020, I feel comfortable and in a good spot.
Yeah. The thing about Ahri is that you really can actually play around her. It doesn't feel unfair. At worst, the charm feels painful because it's got the Lux Q, the Morgana Q problem. If they have to run at you in a straight line, she can just
then it's just like, all right, this is a free charm, thanks.
And even then, like, oh, you dodged it? Well, now you're too far to ever catch me. So it's like tomato. There was no winning there.
And honestly, I like when they buffed her Q the charm itself, to have the extra damage, the 20% extra damage. I like that,
just
actually,
to really
because
punish you for getting nailed.
Exactly. And I understand that it sucks when you get CC'd and blown up like that, but you know what? You should have built MR.
She's a pick champion. She's a roam champion. And you know what? She has fairly limited wave clear compared to other mages. I will say, it does feel like she can clear backline faster than, or like she gets to that, I can one-shot the backline of minions a little faster than other champions, and I do
Yeah.
wish they would make a pass so that every mage had that sort of same baseline.
For the most part, a lot of them do. It's just a matter of whether or not they get an item or proper skill allocation, I guess. Because I noticed, like with Vagar, you rank 2 and your dark matter, boom, the casters are dead.
Okay, but Vagar just ramps up. Vagar
But
deserves to
Vagar,
not
Vagar
one
is
shot
a
the back
glass
line
cannon
early.
who he's powering up that base cannon.
Yeah. So
Um,
I don't think there's much to say about Ari other
yeah,
than that
she
the thing I love is that her mobility is tied to her ultimate. I like these short windows of high mobility rather than just
exactly.
like I always have access to it and I'm just gonna laugh at you and jump over 2 walls. Kane.
Yeah, it feels like you can outplay her or she can outplay you, and you
Yeah.
feel good either way. She's fun to fight. And that's also what's important to me. Like Aatrox, he's not fun to fight
Oh,
because it goes back to that whole he blows you up or you beat him, and it's not a fun
Aatrox is the
fight.
Xerath of top lane, which is a problem that we'll get to way down the line. But yeah, I think
uh,
Ari's range is pretty well balanced. I think as a
yeah.
mage, she's fine, and I think it's also interesting because she wouldn't survive in top lane necessarily,
No, she
and
just
that's
didn't.
also a
Well,
good
she might,
metric.
but no, actually, she wouldn't because of the way the minions. I feel like the way the wave collides, it blocks a lot, so
Hmm.
she never can get an angle on any opponent.
Yeah, and I feel like then also
And
champions
that's
that
a
have to.
weird thing to say. I feel, but
I think it's like it has to do with the length of the lane. It's a lot easier to, or not easier, but you can freeze against ranged champions more easily than you think. Wage management is
you.
super important.
Oh, it
But
is, and I'm terrible at it, and that's why I lose top lane a lot.
yeah, I think Ari's good. I don't think there's very many issues with Ari. The only complaint that I would really have is just that she gets too
She's an
many
assassin.
skins.
Yeah, but she hasn't been getting as many skins lately. It's
It's
all
because she's
been
already got like 12.
Akali and Aurelia
Speaking
nowadays.
of Akali, Akali is
Oh, and
next.
Senna. And speaking of Akali,
Now,
yeah,
Akali has she's very hated in the community.
I
She's
hate her.
very hated in the community.
She is an abomination.
Mhm.
Pre-rework, she was an abomination because she was just, I'm too strong and kill you. Post-rework, same thing, except for 10 times worse now because they buffed her shroud, and then they nerfed her shroud, and then they buffed it again, and then they nerfed it, and it's just she's never going to know balance. The way she is designed, she will never know balance. She's
See,
either going to be too strong or she will be unviable.
I think I've missed a few mini micro patches on her because I remember I played her at the. I tried her. I always try new champions just so I know what I'm playing against, even if I'm never going to play them heavily. It's
As
just
you should,
important.
because then you learn their kit.
Yeah, most people don't. I feel like most people don't do that. They'll ask like dumb questions, like, "Oh, why
Oh,
did
they
that
do.
stun?"
Like for a while, I used to think Yasuo was problematic, but I also didn't understand his kit. Then I sat down in the practice tool and I learned his kit, and suddenly I'm like, oh, this is how it works. Okay, and now, well, I hate fighting him because his stupid passive, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
I think I feel like Akali's damage isn't. I think Akali could you could be say that she has a numbers problem, but at heart she is still a melee champion. She does have to enter melee range with you, and she doesn't have untarget ability. She has stealth.
My problem with Akali is how much mobility she gets early, which makes playing any melee into her actually difficult. Because suddenly she throws that fucking kunai at you, and now she's either charging at you or she's backed away. She has so much disengage or engage depending on what she needs, and I get it. It's the whole aspect of being a ninja, flippy dippy, get around the target, being an assassin, but it just feels super punishing
I think
at times.
ah man, I did
Or
just
annoying
say
because you're trying to get that gank off, and suddenly she's like, "Ha, shroud," and then goodbye.
I did just say that like if it's a numbers problem, that's a testament to bad design. But like sometimes, I can't contradict myself. I think with the Kali, the reason that people really hate her is that they don't respect the E, and
They don't.
they treat it like they treat her E like, oh, you know, I got hit by like the level 1 rank skill. That's not gonna kill me, and they don't want to think about it as no, this is the gap closer that she has landed already, and now she's gonna kill you. And I guess that makes sense, like, psychologically, because it's like, oh, I got hit by something that did 2 damage. Why did I die? It's like, that's not why you died. Her gap closer is just 2 parts. And honestly, I think it's fine. I think it's fine that she can that she has to land this skill shot to go in first. It's like Lee Sin, except you could. I think her base damage is a bit more fair than Lee Sin. The
Fair.
one thing that I like, okay, I don't think Akali is a problem, namely because her wave clear sucks. Her ability to farm sucks. She has to get kills to be ahead, and it's the melee assassin.
It's an assassin, yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't think there's a problem with that. I think if she lands her E and she gets to do her full combo on you, you effed up. That's your problem.
True.
I
That's
do
true.
think
That's
that
fair.
being able to stealth through towers probably never should have existed. Just not, or maybe not on that
Didn't
champion.
they? I believe they
removed it. They
changed
removed it.
that. They did because, frankly, yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
I'm in my shroud, and this tower can't do diddly to me. Why? These towers are already worthless anyway.
Yeah.
So what the
They
hell?
got rid of it. One thing I'm not sure about, I'm not sure her E should have global range. I don't know why she
Does
has
it
that.
have global? It does. Why?
I
Lee
don't
Sin
know.
doesn't have global.
Lee Sin does not have global range.
Everybody who does that does not have
I
global.
have
Even her
I
ult.
have
Her ult
Twisted
doesn't
Fate.
have global.
I
And
have Twisted
okay.
Fate ulted. Oh, away
How long
from
does
an
how long
E.
does that mark last?
The mark 3
It doesn't even
seconds.
say 3 seconds. So okay, I was gonna say she could probably hit you with it, teleport away, then just come back at you, and like what?
No, I Twisted Fate ulted in a brush. She landed the E during my cast time and flew all the way towards me to kill me at the max range of the ult. I was like, really? I teleported under a tower too, which just made me really sad.
See, buff turrets, Riot. Buff them.
I'm just
They
not
are
sure it needs to
worthless.
be global. That's my only
That's
mark.
that one's actually more than enough because like why does this E have global when when they've limited her ult, which that makes sense, but
I'm confused.
I don't get it. Does she have a problem engaging and disengaging? No, she doesn't.
Her
She
ult used to
literally
have double skill shots, and now the first part of it is targeted.
I believe so.
That's kind of odd.
I'd have to load that one up. She's one of the champions I actually haven't
See,
loaded
like,
up
this is what
because
I mean. Like, there was like a micro patch or something where they changed that, and I never got to read the context behind the change.
yeah,
And I can see why they might be doing it because like it just gave her too much escape potential.
probably yeah, that makes sense.
And you know what?
Especially in conjunction with Twilight Shroud.
I think that's probably a valid decision now that I think about it.
Well,
I was just wondering if you knew that context, but it's probably just
nah,
to
unfortunately,
reduce
that's
her
one I've been
escapes.
missing. Moving
Hmm.
on to Mr. Moving on.
Oh yeah, the diagnosis on Akali, by the way, I think she's fine.
Yeah,
I think it's
I
just one of
mean,
those bias situations because
it,
people are bad at playing
yeah,
against
I'll,
assassins.
I'll, I'll
There,
swallow my
okay,
pride and agree with that one.
for posterity, I will say there are some assassins I think are badly designed. I'm not gonna. This isn't gonna be a recurring theme where it's like, oh,
Oh,
if you lose to
assassin.
an assassin, you're bad. No, there are some assassins that do have bad designs, and we'll get to them. Alistar. Oh,
See,
buddy.
this is your territory. Again, I know him. I love him. I love how he is designed. I love how the what is it EQ combo is still a thing. Yeah, head button
WQ.
to EW or whatever it was.
It's WQ, and then you build up stacks for the stun. Alistar is
I love that.
a simple champion, one of the oldest ones around.
Well, exactly. One of the
I've
oldest, but still always fits in, and he does his job. I don't have anything to say about him outside, I want to kill him, but then he laughs at me with his 75% damage reduction. I miss the day of Jungle Alistair season 2,
oh
season 3,
no.
where he just ignores your turn and kills you.
Alistar is
I actually
funny.
don't miss those days because they were hell.
Alistar is so funny because yeah, he's simple. You know,
He's simple.
he's
He's
got
very
like
straightforward.
two ability Malphite pseudo Malphite that's targeted, but
But it
it's really
requires
funny.
you to actually know how to time things because many a times you've just saved the enemy many a times, or you've done the pulverize too soon and you're awkwardly in the middle between your enemy and your team, and you're just goosh, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna die. Yeah,
Yeah,
you are.
I don't have a problem with Alistar. I think he's very restricted with his range. I mean, if anything, he's a little weak. But I mean, that's just if you abuse him, you abuse his range. And I think he serves a very important purpose. He's a powerful, powerful peel bot. He's very good at setting up turret dives. I don't think there's any
And
problems with Alistar because
he's a good tank too. Yeah,
he's a good
he
tank.
does his
He's a good
job.
support. He does his job. I don't think there's
Yeah.
any design problems here. He's
Nope.
old but good.
Yep. And he looks fly as hell too. Especially some of them skins. Like, man, look at that. Where's it at? Where's it at?
I guess
The Marauder,
some good things. That
Black Frost.
his design is like actually like very good for how old he is. It's simple and effective.
And you feel powerful with
You
him
do
too. You're
feel
like, I'm this
powerful.
unstoppable Minotaur coming and barreling down the lane. Get off my carry, and he's just gonna whip your ass.
He's gonna stun people if an assassin jumps on you. He literally smacks them far away and stuns them. It's just he's got CC for days, and that's what he does. He's not a damage dealer. He's just a powerful peel support / engage support if you can get into range, which is actually kind of difficult.
I didn't know Alistair got a Conqueror skin.
Did he?
He did.
Conqueror.
2019, April 30th, 2019. He was given a Conqueror skin, and it looks clean.
Where is it? Is this new?
Under the cosmetics in the wiki.
Legacy.
No, it's old. It's old.
Oh,
It was last year's Conqueror. I didn't know.
Oh my god, that is
It's
old.
clean. All right, let's wrap this one up and move to a Moo.
A Moo. Oh, Moo.
By the way, I will be attempting to doing my damnedest to make puns here.
I haven't heard any, so you're already screwing up.
Wrapping up and moving on to a Moo.
Oh wow. Okay.
Moving on
All
to
right.
Alice. Oh, come
Oh,
on.
you-
wound me.
Oh my
you
god.
wound me.
I'm sorry. Actually, you know what? That's my bad. All right.
The sad mummy. I have, I feel like this poor dude is been left behind, and there was a time when he was one of those champions who had like that 54% win rate.
The good old
But-
the Bronzodia.
Bronzodia, exactly. But
Back
like,
in the days of season 2 to season 3, the
Season 1 to
Bronzodias were Malphite, Amumu, and
Shin and two other people.
Malphite, Amumu, Shen, and I can't remember. But these
With,
they were just considered
Atma's Impaler.
busted by the bronze community, and they would be banned very, very often.
Along with Shaco, but Shaco was just annoying. And he still is.
Nowadays,
But
Amumu
nowadays,
is just...
I feel bad for this poor guy. He's just.
I don't actually.
I mean, yeah, because it was never fun to just bandage toss and then you're just bandage toss, curse the said mummy, and then you're just, I would like to play this game, but this is like what 3 seconds. How big of a stun is that? It's
actually not technically a stun. It's a root and a disarm.
No. I'm talking about
the
bandage toss.
Q.
Yeah, that hits you for a second.
It's a full
You
second.
hit with that. You're a full second. All right, that's not a big deal. But as soon as that second hits, boom, you're now disarmed for 2 seconds. And if you're an ADC, you're going to die.
It's interesting that it roots and it disarms you, but it does not keep
You can still
from casting
cast. You can
spells.
still cast.
Yeah.
Which, I like that. I mean, it's very anti-ADC or certain champions who rely on the auto
Amumu
attacks.
is meant to actually counteract physical damage. That's a sort of subtle part of his kit that people don't think about. His ult disarms. It doesn't stun. His E gives him just hard DR, like physical damage reduction, which is a stronger stat than you think. Like these small little numbers here, the 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, those are actually fairly powerful.
And this is why he has been. This is why he's one of the. I think he's. Let me check that actually. It's been a while since I've been.
He's consistently strong. Amumu is subtly strong. He has sort of hidden power in many ways. Like his passive is actually incredibly strong. Whenever he autos someone or ults people, they take 10% bonus true damage from magic damage, and that's huge. He's a really big enabler that people don't necessarily respect. And that also makes him actually a very powerful AP assassin if people build that way. And that's why I don't have any pity for
Love
Amumu,
for him.
because I've seen too many AP Amumus just take over a game.
See, in my case, it's the AP ones that ruin my game because they're on my team and they just.
I meant it on both sides. It's the Shaco syndrome for sure.
Well, see, yeah, you're right. But in my case, it's like, all right, if you're not building tank, you're worthless to me because then you melt. And sure enough, oh look, here he comes. He's trying to ult and he's dead.
He's queued and he has died instantly to 3 skill shots that were shot towards him.
Because he doesn't know how to mash R.
Yeah.
But Amumu, he's sadly, in my opinion, left behind.
I think he's fun. I think he serves a purpose.
I mean, he's sitting at a 50.5% win rate, so
he's in that sweet spot. There's nothing that needs to be done for him.
Yeah.
I think Amumu is kind of like Alistar. He's old and simple, but he does his job. And if you just play him, you're not losing anything. You're not gaining. Or he's not busted. And I think he's
not season 10.
He's no season 10.
He's no season 10.
Yeah. I think his kit makes use of like the power budget of what a champion should have very effectively.
Yeah.
Which is, what we should be striving for here. I think he's
yes.
Anivia. Anivia's interesting. Oh my god.
I love Anivia's
I love
kit.
Anivia.
I love everything about her. Because it was pointed out to me while I was watching the LCS, Freak was talking about her Glacial Storm, her ult. And what you can do with it to really min-max and showcase your mastery over her is every time you deactivate her ult, it always gives you 1 extra tick. Like, it will always give you that extra tick no matter what when you turn it off. Just like instant tick. Boom. So what you can do is, you hit them with the thing, boom, 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 boom. But right before, instead of wasting that mana, right before that last tick goes off, instead of waiting, just turn it off. And suddenly, boom, that last tick will go instantaneously, and it'll kill whatever, assuming, something was going to die. Like, you're farming, you're clearing the minion wave.
Oh, yeah, it says right here, deactivates dealing 1 last tick of damage. Okay, so it instantly deals that tick. I thought it was just going to go off. Interesting.
No, it's so, like, she is a perfect example in her current iteration of if you learn her, you will master. If you master her, you showcase the effort to do so. Like the small little things, the recasting of the ult to turn off that extra thing.
That people claim, the skill ceiling is high because they're, that's how they're designed, and that's fair when they dominate champions. I think that statement is wrong about many champions, but not Anivia, because Anivia actually she both has a high skill floor and high skill ceiling. It's not easy to play Anivia even in a simple sense. Her Q is slow as all hell. Her auto attacks are weak and slow, even with
they're awkward.
The quality of life buffs. It used to be worse. Her autos used to be worse.
Have you tried to last hit with her?
Oh,
it's
atrocious.
Pulling teeth is easier.
Pulling teeth. The thing about Anivia...
Karthus, Jace, please stop having such bad animations. I hate them. I hate those auto attacks. They are the worst.
Karthus' auto attack is so painful.
But Karthus' auto attack's a Q anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we should have established this earlier. I don't think we're gonna be assuming you know these kits already, more or less, or at least you can read while I am scrolling over them.
Yeah. So looking at Anivia here, though, everything about her, again, it works as it should, and her entire kit, captures what she's all about. She's zone control, and she is lock somebody down, freeze them solid, and kill them. Yeah. And she is rewarded for doing that.
She's got a
you're running.
Well
suddenly, ice wall hits you. You're like, oh shit, I'll start going around. But suddenly you're slowed because her ult. Suddenly you're stunned, and then next thing you know, frostbite hits you and you're dead. Because
there's so
that's
much
how it
about
should
Anivia that has to be predicted. Like, her Q is so slow, she has to know where you're going to be. She can't just toss it at you and catch you unawares. She's
the perfect example of a character who has to work for her stuff. She has to lead everything she does.
And I think one thing that is underestimated always is that wall. You never think about the wall until she's used it against you, and I have been pinned against another piece of normal terrain by that wall and just thought, holy crap, I got outplayed so hard. Because what do you say there? Like that
you set yourself up. Yeah, at that point, it's like playing against Poppy.
You should not have been that close to another wall. It's like standing next to a wall against Vayne. Like, you just don't do it. You don't do it. And this is so much farther away than like, oh, she walled me while I was going for a CS. That doesn't do crap. Like,
and actually, that's another thing. Because of the way her wall works, she works with synergy with her teammates.
Mm-hmm.
Vayne, Poppy, anyone who likes to do extra damage against a surface,
Gnar.
Gnar, she works with them.
I think
So,
yeah.
but again, she's not. You can't just slap her in there and thinking, "Oh, this character is gonna." I mean, you could theoretically do that so long as you know how to play her, but if you don't, then well,
And
what are
then
you doing?
the other cool thing is, even with all of the skill ceiling talk, she still has major weaknesses. If you get on
Mhm.
top of her, you
She
can
dies.
one shot her. She's very squishy. She has very low base stats. Like, and there's not even like a numbers thing here. They're just kind of set real low. There's not really like, oh, she's a little too tanky. Like, no, you can just kind of kill her. Like,
And
they
you know the
always wanted to
one,
make sure that was fair.
this is actually something that I've always struck. It's odd to me thinking about it now. I actually don't like her passive.
No.
Of all things, it actually feels out of place. And I get it. She's a phoenix. That's the ult, or that's the passive. I get that. But when you look at the rest of her kit, that is the one thing that actually stands out. That you're weird. This is an oddity. Which again, she needs it though, because otherwise she's dead.
It does
She's
seem a little out of place. Like, it doesn't necessarily fit with the rest of the kit. I think you could take the passive away and give her something else suitably powerful, and it wouldn't necessarily change. Or I don't think the community would cry out in pain. But like, I don't think there's a need to change it. It's just
no,
kind of
it's
an
not. I
interesting
mean, it's
passive.
just like I'm not against it, but it's an oddity to me.
Yeah. One thing I think is always
Uh
funny is that it gets strong. Her passive does get stronger over the course of the game. She gains bonus armor and MR
yeah.
late game.
At the start of it,
It's
she's
negative.
-40.
Yeah. Oh, it's so brutal.
That yeah, she doesn't start getting. She does. It takes to level 12 before she gets any positive buffs out of it.
Ridiculous.
Level 1, it's -40. Level 5, -25.
It's
Level
so
8,
easy to kill the
-10.
egg. It's
It's
so
yeah.
easy.
But you know
Uh,
that egg, it's so troll. It's so troll, and I love it.
it's still, like
You
half of her health
try and kill
essentially.
her. Exactly. You try and kill her. She manages to get on her tower, and you hit that egg just right, and you think you can finish it. So you dive the egg, thinking you're gonna kill it, only for it to troll you, and the tower takes you out.
It's just
It's
funny
happened
because
to
like
all of
if
us.
if you forget about that passive, you just get punished, which is so
Hmm.
funny.
You gotta respect it.
All
It's
right.
like Invisible GA.
The verdict on Annie or the verdict on Anivia is she's good.
She's solid.
I don't think there's any design issues there.
But have you seen this girl's bear? I have it.
Oh, Annie.
I feel bad for Annie because the community seems to think she's nothing but a support, which hurts me. It hurts me dearly
Do they still think
because
that? I've actually seen people complain about Annie support nowadays.
they do. They still think. Basically, if you're a mage now, I actually had a person not too long ago say which character was it? Swain was
Swain.
dedicated support character.
Swain is dedicated support character now. And you know what? Like
I hate that. He is
I
good. Okay, I hate that because when he was initially designed, he was either supposed to be a mid laner or a top laner. And I'm that elitist guy who still clings to that idea where characters shouldn't go into certain roles. But I understand that the support role is meant to support, i.e., via helping killing, or to help lock down, i.e., killing, or to protect and peel, which Swain, he does. Annie does that great as well. Because you have to respect the pyromania.
I disagree.
Because if you don't, you die.
I think the reason why Swain is considered a better support than any other laner is because he can't solo kill at all. Like, well, I mean, he can,
He
but it's
can.
so much more difficult and it takes so much time.
Yeah. We'll
Like, you
talk
have to
about that in a
you have to
bit.
whittle them down, and they
We'll talk
have
about
to.
that in a
They,
bit.
hmm?
Annie.
Right, right,
Annie.
right, right, right. Yeah,
We'll get to
you're right.
Swain.
The ADHD is taking over. Okay, we're talking about Annie.
Annie, my problem with her is if you fight her solo, in the solo lane, if you're fighting her in mid lane or some random ass top lane, or even some odd jungle counter pick, thanks Civ HD. But her pyromania exerts so much pressure that to me you feel scared to even step up to the minion wave. There have been times where I have conceded the lane to her because I see her sitting on it. She's full health. She's level 6. I don't know where the jungler is, and I'm a little hurt because, shit happens. But then she sits on the passive. It's circling around her. She's got Pyromania up, and she's looking to stun me. But I will only move up when I see her cast a Q or a W on the wave and just farm. That's the only time you get breathing room around her.
Yeah, Annie is very much. She's kind of a bully. People underestimate her because she's so old, but she's still the old.
80% scaling on her Q, 85 on her W, and 75 on Tibbers.
Her ratios.
She's got burst.
Solid.
And her base damage
it's
all
high. It's bursty. She will kill you. And she will kill you during a freaking, 2-second stun?
Yeah.
1.25 seconds based on level, and it goes up to 1.75. It becomes a 1.75 second stun.
Hurts. It hurts a lot. But to her credit, though, she has weaknesses. If you are able to abuse her short range on her, while her auto attack is actually absurdly large for her kit.
I think they may have nerfed it recently, but I'm going to check right here.
I believe they reverted that. So don't quote me on that.
It's still 625.
It's still the second, third largest auto attack in the game, beating out, I think, Caitlyn. No, Caitlyn's slightly larger than her. Not Tristana, though, because, early Tristana, when late game Tristana happens, Tristana laughs at her. But she still sits there and outranges everybody. But if you can abuse that and just dance around her cast, that little awkward range between auto attack and her cast, you're fine.
I think Annie is balanced by her short ranges for sure. Like,
she is.
She can. She's basically like almost auto range as a champion. Like, sure, 625 is her auto range, but like 550 is not that large. 625, 600, those are fairly short ranges for a mage. Most ranges, they're ranging around 700, 800. So like you can just dance around her, like you say. It's that flash stun that makes her so powerful, and if you can read it or just sense when it's coming, you're fine. And it's not like Aatrox, again, where you can outrange someone and punish them for going for CS. Like, no, she has to count her spells.
She does. She requires setup. And again, if you play the patient game against her and wait for her to cast a Q or blow the Pyromania, because lull her into a false sense of security, let her get a little complacent and blow the Pyromania, then collapse on her.
Yeah. But like, I think a good portion of what makes a champion like balanceable is that can you outplay them with just wave management? Like, does their kit force you to learn more of the game? Or no, that's the wrong statement. Can I win this lane even though my kit is weaker because I know how to wave manage
exactly
better? And it's like with Annie, you can do that. You can wave manage better and beat her that way. And I think that's always very important, because some champions just force that game away from you, which is like, oh, cool, so I just don't get to use this whole skill that I practiced because, your kit just ignores it or what have you.
Now, what I do like that was a buff to her was the change to Molten Shield they did a while ago, where they gave
lets her run you down.
Lets her run you down, because, again, it takes away the immediate. She doesn't necessarily have to rely on flash now to kill you. If she can do it right, she can run you down literally and do it.
It gives her that little bit of oomph where it's like, oh, I can surprise you with this slight bit more of movement speed and catch you. And it's like, you have to be aware of that. I think Annie's sort of a pseudo bully / decently strong mage. I think she is balanced because
I do. Yeah. She hasn't made me want to pull my hair out like a certain new guy who we're about to talk about. Aphelios.
Aphelios.
I hate him.
He was touted as, the big galaxy brain new 80 carry who you'd have
200 years of design.
200 years of design.
When you look at him, he's a problematic mess. From just numbers to his entire kit. He is a mess.
And it's like
but he is not the
this
worst.
giant wiki page,
Yep.
which
Okay.
can actually be
Now,
reduced to so much more simple than it actually looks like.
now, I'm going to actually default to you here because while I know about his problems from a professional standpoint from watching the LCS, I do not really know about his kit too much. Mostly because low your elo silver, they don't know how to play this guy,
Yeah.
so he dies.
I have seen some
Or
very disgusting things from this
I
champion.
have
I have
seen
seen him pentakill like with, you know, 3 item, maybe 2 items, 3 items. It's just I'm playing, or I guess oh, that was the other thing. We should probably talk about what we actually play, because I play, well, I mean, I sort of play everything, but like I think my best
yeah,
position is support. That's
top
like
laner
where I'm
and mid
strongest.
laner.
Top lane.
I'm
I
an
also do
island.
some jungle just because it's a bit harder to carry in low elo. Like when I have to rise through silver, I'll play more jungle. It's just
Yeah.
easier. Um, Aphelios.
Aphelios though, he is an abomination. He is just through and through. Uh, what I find disgusting about him specifically is how deceptive his entire kit is. I have seen him snipe somebody from well over Caitlyn ranges, well over Caitlyn's ult range, with just his basic bitch. What is it? The sniper rifle? Yeah.
So what his sniper rifle does is he marks you with a fairly long range skill shot, 1450, which is actually massive.
That's huge.
But
That's almost
the
as
thing you're
that's
talking
half
about,
of like
once it marks you, he gets to auto you from like, what is it, global range?
almost
Um, let's see. Yeah, so he gets to auto you from, you know,
1800 range. What? That's absurd. There's no reason for that.
yeah, I don't know why it has 1800 range. I really don't, cuz like, oh, it's a sniper rifle, but
I get that, but you know what?
this is a normal skill.
He
This is a
I know
normal skill.
exactly. I get that a lot of people hate this term, but unfortunately he is the definition of an overloaded kit.
So, okay, here's the thing. When people talk about overloaded, they are almost always overusing it. But we're going to work with
Yes.
this definition of champions have a power budget. And that power budget can mean, you know, how much damage they deal based on levels, their base stats, the tools that their kit gives them access to, which is to say crowd control, movement, utility, like healing or shielding. That all of that is, you know, that accounts for some power budget. And people say that Aphelios is fine because, you know, he doesn't have access to all of his tools at once. But here's what you have to consider. When he does just have access to, you know, these two tools, why is that tool so strong on its own? You wouldn't allow that on like a normal ability on a person who just has 4 abilities. Why does he get to have it and then also have another powerful ability at the same time? It's just
He is the apex marksman right now. There is no reason to pick someone other than him. If you can first pick him, you do so.
And you can cycle through his stuff really fast, actually. The Q, whenever it'll consume 10 ammo. You can cycle through it within like 30, like I don't even, maybe faster than 30 seconds, and just, you know, get the right kit that you want. It's not like, oh, you know, I have to wait like a minute or so for my ult to come up like other champions. No, he just swaps like, all right, now I've got my crazy single target scythe pistol chakram combo, or it's like, oh, our team fight's coming up. Let me make sure I have my
Infernum the
flamethrower.
flamethrower. You just burn everything because he can do that.
Like I saw a numbers comparison where it's like, oh, late game Jinx versus late game Infernum. It's Aphelios does more damage.
Yeah, he's absurd.
So
His problem is not just a numbers thing, but it's an inherent kit problem.
like,
He is an abomination.
if you want him to have access to all of these things, he should be a jack of all trades, master of none.
He's a master of everything.
He should not be better just because he happens to have the right combination of things. Like, if you're going to give him access to all of these things within one game, he should be at least weaker than the champions who specialize. That's just
Why
game
pick
design.
him? Why pick Sivir when he can wave clear a lot better? Why pick Jinx because he can destroy towers better? Why pick well, Ezreal's more mobile than him. I'll give Ezreal that. That's the one thing he's got over him. But yeah, there's just no reason for him to be
He
this
can even
absurd.
set up a freaking ult. Like, say your team has no CC, he can set it up with the Gravitum ult. Just
Yep.
like bonk, root the whole team, and then you just, I don't know, spam a mage with no CC that has AoE, like Brand or something. Just delete them. It's just, I have so many problems with this, because it would be one thing if each of these combination abilities required some kind of, difficult gameplay pattern or skill expression, but it's just
Or skill
I
ceiling.
land a line skill shot and I get to automatically crit you, or I press my button and it starts auto attacking 20,000 times without me having to aim, and now I just click towards you, or I autoed you and now I can root you. Like, what? Or even the flamethrower is like the one with the most, play around potential. It's like,
exactly.
don't hide behind minions, I guess. But
You can't even play around it because he's just what is his attack range?
I think it's basic. I think it's 550. What?
No, it's
Okay.
not.
Okay. 550.
Again,
What is auto
550. Okay, you're
radius?
right.
Okay, this is
Water attack range that. Now I know his sniper gets a little bit bigger.
yeah,
But
it's
sniper
650.
gains 100. He gets 650.
Which
So
is also disgusting, because just give him
Caitlyn,
Caitlyn range. Just give him Caitlyn
yeah,
range.
just
A lot of people, again, don't consider how strong Caitlyn range is, because, as we were
it's
saying earlier,
oppressive. Yeah.
with Aatrox being able to abuse you as you go up for CS, Caitlyn can do the same thing. You walk up for a CS, she autos you for
Pew,
free. You can't hit
pew.
her because she's outside of your range. There's nothing you can do. You eat that auto every time you go for CS. That's why Caitlyn is so strong early. And so
And
they just give Aphelios this
Aphelios can
power
do that plus a lot more.
for free, and he always starts with the sniper rifle. So he's always going to be safe until level 2, which is very important in bot lane. Rushing that level 2 can mean the lane in some cases, because it means you can all land on, like, say, a Leona or a Nautilus. It's so important. He's just got so many strengths, and the only weakness, oh, he's immobile. So is Kog'Maw. What the frick? We don't let Kog'Maw, like, kill people level. We don't give. Kog'Maw has like 450 range or something. I think if they wanted to make Aphelios balanced, maybe they would lower his range. Actually, that might be one of the crucial things they could do, because lower his range, make
Kog'Maw's
it so
500.
500.
500.
Okay.
What's Kog'Maw gonna do to this guy? Kog'Maw was supposed to be like the hyper carry. Him and Vayne. Nobody has seen Kog'Maw in years. I haven't seen a Kog'Maw in years.
I actually did see a Kog'Maw recently, and he had a Lulu, which was so painful. And I landed hooks on him. Oh, this is irrelevant, but I have seen Kog'Maw around recently. But again, you need to build a team around him. You don't need to build a team around Aphelios. Aphelios complements any team. He scales hard.
He does.
In any team. He has every tool. And he's safe. He starts with Caitlyn range. It's just, this is what we mean when we say overloaded. His power budget,
line,
out the window. They gave him
he doesn't have a budget. They were like,
mobility.
you know what? Exactly. So
and it's like,
TLDR,
you're supposed to have maybe 3 out of 6.
Aphelios is problematic.
He's
and it's not just a numbers issue. His is just an inherent kit.
The sad thing is, it's a numbers issue and a design issue. It's twofold. It's just disgusting.
All right, moving on to happier times. Actually,
gotta cool down after that one.
Yeah, man. The nice Frost Archer, Ashe. I love Ashe. I love it. She was one of the ADCs who got the lovely rework, who helped her out significantly. She went from being just an ult bot to being an ult bot with utility.
One thing to consider about Ashe, she has 600 range. This is often forgotten. I just want to throw that out there.
But you know what? Despite having 600, it does not feel as oppressive.
No, it doesn't. And that's sort of
which is a good thing.
Ashe's kit is very low damage.
It is.
It's not.
And that's why it doesn't feel oppressive. It's just like, okay, I'm trying to run. Quit it. Stop it.
Like, so if she pokes you for that auto, it feels like it doesn't hurt as much. Just because, well, for one thing, her crit curve is a lot.
It's weird
weaker.
because she was they designed her crit to be different, and I remember we talked about this many years ago, where
Yeah.
her crit was how they should redesign the entirety of crit. Because when we were talking about that once, what was it? Crit strikes double. What
Mm-hmm.
was it?
Yeah, what's it called?
Ah,
Basic attacks against enemies with frost deal 110% plus 100% plus 25% of critical strike chance. So,
yeah,
although the 25% is with Infinity Edge, of course.
yeah,
And so she will never crit you for damage. She will just crit you with slows.
exactly.
And
It's situational crit, but it requires setup,
mhm.
which takes away the RNG of the nature of crit, which we all know. We'll get to him in a second because
I
I
mean,
hate him. I
oh,
hate him
I
for
think I know who
that.
you're talking about. So let's just Ash is very simple. She's like Alistar. She's a champ from a bygone era, but they've sort of updated her a little
They've kept her
more.
well. She's still relevant. She's
She
she's
is
you
very
can use.
relevant.
She's useful for her ult, for her utility with her hawk shot, and her ranger's focus gives her. That's where her damage comes in, but she has to ramp up to it.
Hmm.
And
The
volley's just good for zone control as well as for poke because its range is pretty respective. What is that?
Oh god, her W is
1200.
1200. It's
Twelve
massive.
hundred.
But you can
That's
hide behind
good.
minions.
You can, but it's good. So I got nothing else against her. So
Yep.
Ash, she's good. She doesn't
The
feel
the
bad to play
only
against.
the only complaint I have about Ash is that if she gets ahead,
Oh
she
yeah, I mean,
will kill you. If
yeah,
you
I
walk
mean,
too far, she will perma-slow you and kill you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
yeah.
The thing about that is though, her ability to get ahead of you, she doesn't have it. She just doesn't.
She needs to rely on jungle pressure
Jungle pressure
or
and her
have a
support.
really big like kill lane 80 support.
And although we will talk about some problematic supports, well, supports in quotation marks, but I think
Supports.
Ash in a vacuum is fine. Ash in most teams is just solid. She's
She
got
is.
her utility.
She's
She
no
got decent
Aphelios,
damage.
but who
She's no
cares?
Aphelios.
She's no
We should
Aphelios.
not be striving for Aphelios. And
Uh-uh.
I got pretty heated about the fact that like that Caitlyn has insane range, but the thing about Ash is that she just doesn't have the same tools that Caitlyn has to get ahead and bully you into death.
She has range, but she doesn't have damage.
Yeah, Ash verdict good, not busted.
Aurelian Sol, the Star Forger, one of my personal favorites because he's my sassy space dragon who just talks down to you as he should because he is wonderful. I love him for everything he does, simply because his entire kit is actually incredibly hard. He's hard as hell to play, in my opinion,
Uh, One thing I hate
but
though
he
is that
rewards it
they
so
nerfed his
well.
W, or
I, you know, I was thinking about that. I actually prefer that. The
you prefer
way his
the
I
new
do,
W.
I do, where it's no longer constantly going or whatever and just a 100%. I like it because it allows him to really check himself. It keeps him in line. It
Mm.
makes him less oppressive because before once he gets his tier or his rod of ages, he'll just turn that on and just like he pushes you out. Now he has to time it right. He has to set it up. And if he doesn't, well, he has his weakness, which is you jump on him, he can't get you off unless he blows ult, and then he has to pray he can capitalize on that.
I have no problem with Aphelios. I have no problem
Or,
with Aurelion
or
Sol.
I don't.
I actually love Aurelion Sol, and I think like
He's
if you play him, it feels satisfying. It's like
he's
these
hard as hell to play
galaxy
though.
SFX. It's very difficult because those stars are
He's
slow. They're very
they are
slow, and you
so
have
slow. Even
to
when you speed them up,
position
it's just
so
like
oddly to smack people with them.
what does feel good though, because it feels cheating at times. Take him top lane and take him in any melee matchup. It's
uh,
so unfair.
I don't know about that, but
I've done it against the Darius, and it was hilarious because
a
I'm like, all right.
Darius?
I was
That is
like,
a
all right,
dangerous
this is a
game.
little sketchy, but you know what? It's normals. I'm doing it. I did it, and abuse your W. Just turn it on, and just walk back. You see him coming up. Of course, you respect the Darius. You back up. Then you turn your W on, and you smack him. You smack him. You smack him. Or he steps up, you kill him, and then you walk away. And it's just he's got tools. And what's that? He needs. I must go. My people need me. Then you just E out there. You just E away and go save somebody else, or you E back into lane, and it's
The funny
great.
thing about Aurelion's E And one of the things that I wish was put on a lot more skills is placed on a 4-second static cooldown after he's been damaged by a champion. So if you are in a fight, you can't use it. It's specifically a tool for roaming or for just immediately getting out of somewhere because you know you're not where you're supposed to be.
Yep.
And I think that's interesting. I like this kind of limited mobility, which is, a problem amongst many champions.
And another thing about him is he doesn't fit in every comp.
No, not at all.
He doesn't. He requires a high lockdown comp. Otherwise, he doesn't do well. So Sejuani's, your Leonas, if they're with your team, he'll be perfect. But on his own, requires a bit of setup.
Yeah, he definitely needs some help. Like, I think it's fine when a champion can't exist on their own.
Exactly.
I don't think champions should be self-sufficient. I think that's always been sort of a problem. It's like, oh, you need your top laner to be self-sufficient. It's like, do you though?
No, because if they're... Then you get into the balance problems. You get the Aatroxes who just laugh at everybody. Oh, you come into my lane? I'm the king here.
I'm actually, I'm so glad that Aatrox is first in the alphabetical order because it just gives us this great bar to hit. It's like, don't do this. He sucks.
Don't do this and don't do Aphelios. Aphelios is like way up here. He's past my camera. You can't see he's that high. Aatrox is at the top of my camera. I hate it. TLDR... Sol is great. Aurelion, I love him. He's my sassy space dragon.
I've never seen any problems. He's not for everyone. He's good. This is good design here.
Azir.
Oh.
Azir is problematic.
He's I'm gonna be odd. I'm
gonna be straight up with you. He is problematic.
I think
because of his deceptive range.
We talked about how there are champions with the high skill ceiling where people say, "Oh, but they deserve it." Azir is not one of those champions. He is not. He is no Anivia, and I think part of the reason for this is that he is allowed to scale really hard into late game, but he's not necessarily in danger at any time. Like,
now, to the credit of Azir, he is incredibly hard to play and incredibly hard to master, because I don't know about you, but have you tried to do the Shurima Shuffle?
The Shurima Shuffle. But see, that's the thing. I think his skill ceiling is fine. I think he should be allowed to do really crazy stuff like zooming around and ulting people.
I agree with
Lee Sin style. I think that his skill floor should be much higher. Much higher. I don't know how you could do that though, because
basic level, the soldiers just add so much to his range, and they hurt so much. And they just beat you up, and it's just not fun.
Yeah, it's just painful. Like, and the one thing, they did lower his range. It is 525 rather than 550, so his basic autos are weak. But
unfortunately, you got to tie that with his soldiers too, who are the bulk of his damage.
He can leave a soldier farther away from him, back off, and then just use that soldier. He doesn't have to be in range.
He was designed to be the zone control. He's this conqueror. He takes land from you. He literally does. He takes you destroys your tower, and he erects his own. And it's his property now. It's free real estate, man.
It's free real estate.
It's free real estate. But he does that too well. Like, it requires, if you're in picks and bans, you have to pick someone who can match that range or aggression.
Yeah, Azir definitely has the Xerath problem.
Fortunately, he's worse than Xerath in my opinion. I know we both had this. We'll get to that in a second, but he's got that problem.
I think you might be right. I actually think you might be right. I think Azir is a little worse than Xerath.
Because Xerath, his main thing is he's going to blow you up from 1,000 yards away, but
he's not mobile.
Can't do that if he doesn't hit you with that E.
We'll get to Xerath and Lux and Ziggs and Vel'Koz later.
An untargetable soldier. You don't.
Yeah, Azir is just worse. Because,
Azir's in trouble. He QEs away.
He has a dash. Dude, this cannot be, this cannot be stressed enough. He has mobility. This means that he has a lot of... And so now we're getting... Let's think about the power budget. So before we said Aphelios was powerful because he has strong early game, strong late game, AoE damage, sustain, solid base stats. His base health is higher than other ADCs, He's got range. I already said the range, but so you just got this very long list of tools. And some people might say, well, you can just list the tools that many champions have. It's like, yes, but not every tool is equal. A lot of offensive tools are
You're
just
not
more.
gonna use a hammer to fucking pry a crowbar nail out of the wall. You're gonna use it to nail the hammer. You're gonna use the hammer to nail the hammer. Oh my goodness. Words are hard and treacherous bastards. Remember
If
that.
all you've got is a hammer, everything starts to look like nails.
Exactly.
So the thing about Azir,
He has his weaknesses, but
what?
in order to hit those weaknesses, what do you do? His weakness is if you jump on him, he dies. Unfortunately, he's gonna push you off, or he's gonna dash away.
Yeah, he always has. It's not like
Hard to
Ari,
lock
where his mobility is tied to his ult, and on top of that, his ult is literally knockback. It's the Aurelian Soul tool where he can knock you away for getting on top of him, but then he also has a dash that he can use in combat. And the only thing he needs to do is just make sure you're not in the way.
Yep.
Which means that if he sees the jungle pop out of a brush, he just dashes away. There's no danger. And like,
ooh, but you can just use CC. Yeah, you can use CC for everybody and kill them that way. That's not an answer to them. I mean, it's an answer to them, but not.
You need to get in range of this person to CC him.
Exactly.
Azir is just gonna run away. Azir, he's the classic problem of I am a powerful late game champion that is incredibly hard to punish and can also win many an early game matchup and just
He's super safe. So
in which case this kind of is a numbers problem, but it's important to recognize which numbers. It's not that he does too much damage. It's not that he has too strong of survivability. No, the problem is that
because he has no sustain, he doesn't. If you stick damage to him, it stays. Problem is, good luck getting there. He's got an army. Go through it. I dare you.
Fight through those soldiers to hit him once, and
It's
you
not
will
worth
lose that fight. It's just
Trading with him is hard. Yeah. So
it's just bad.
my personal verdict is he's on the strong side. He's not oppressive. He's can be oppressive. He's not badly designed. He just needs fine tuning.
I think it's just a range thing.
Yeah.
I think if you honestly just made it so just nerf his W range. Just chunk it so he can't auto attack W in that same sort of window. Like make it so maybe he has to leave soldiers like behind on top of his position, or like Heimer turrets. Heimer has to get in melee range to place a turret down practically. Or is it a little longer now?
He gets a little bit of range, but he still's got to get. He has to be.
It's like 300 range at best, I think.
Have to be in harm's way to
And
something.
If Heimerdinger has to pay that cost with no mobility, I think Azir should too. That's just simple. That's just
because
fair.
the soldiers are untargetable.
And Heimerdinger doesn't scale. You can kill his turrets.
Good luck killing a ghost sand soldier.
Yeah, like this is just these weird like unfair differences between champions that have already been established. Like, why did you do this? You had a precedent for this is okay, this is fair. Why did you suddenly think, that sucks actually? Let's give him this extra bit that the other person just doesn't get to have. It's just weird. Azir. Who's next?
Yeah. Your favorite, Bard.
Oh, Bard. Bard is hilarious.
I love Bard.
Is hilarious. He's a goofy ass champion.
He's a space hobo, as Aurelian Soul calls him. You hobo.
Bard is funny. People always underestimate Bard because they think he's useless.
He's not.
He's a little weird. He's a little funky, and he doesn't do that much damage. But the game is not all about damage.
No, I will actually say his damage is deceptive, though.
His damage is deceptive.
Scale, it wraps up. He has to do his job. He has to do his secondary job,
which is nerf him recently because he was doing too much damage.
Gee, I'm sorry, bud. Just stepped on my cat, guys. What? All right. Well, see, that's the thing about Bard, though. He has a mini game he plays. He loves his mini game. He has to go find his meeps or whatever the hell they're called.
Chimes. Yeah, he collects sacred chimes, and that attracts more meeps.
And when he does that, he gets stronger to the point where if you want to be hilarious and go Lichbane on him or Trinity Force, it's really funny.
I love Bard because
Don't do that because ultimately that's gimping. Unless of course you're doing some weird ass, funky solo queue or normal thing and you're just playing with your buddies, at which point, by all means. But if you're in rank, please don't do that. Please don't.
So
His
Bard,
camp as a whole is fine. He's, you know, it's conditional. He sets you up to be, the cosmic binding. You need to hit 2 targets, so that encourages you to want to corral them and group them up. Or if you're playing against it, you want to spread out. The shrines, not much to say about them. They're just a speedy boost, that quick little heal.
they're little health packs.
They're just a little health pack. It takes a lot to cast, so he wants to use it sparingly. Magical Journey, great utility, which also turns into a hilarious bait tool.
Oh god, I love the magical journey.
Magical
I think what we have yeah, we're just complimenting his kid at this point because Bard is just a funky champion with weird utility in like the craziest sense. He's by no means like a damage dealer, but he can do decent damage. I think Bard has one of the best designs in the game.
He does.
I would never.
I got nothing else to say about him outside of his ult troll.
The ult is so difficult to use, but it's so potentially powerful.
But yeah, that's all I got. Bard, A-OK. Go
Fantastic design, incredible. So much counterplay. He forces you to think about how you play and how you position. And if you do it right, you are going to outplay him. His E is a great enabler for other champions and setups and surprise ganks. It's limited mobility, which again, I said is much better than just, your random dashes just forever. Ult's crazy hard to use. The W is like, okay, if I put 3 health packs here, there'll be that's a lot of bonus health for later. He's just great. I have no complaints about Bard. People say he's weak. I think they're just, well, first I think they're bad at the game. First of all. Second, they're just not thinking about how these tools could be used. And they don't want to because they're
Mimi brain dead Meagle.
They don't want to think. They don't want to think about how this game is more complicated than I do more damage than you, so I win.
Like, a lot of this game does boil down to like a chess mentality. Like, how can you outmaneuver your opponent?
Mm-hmm.
Bard exemplifies
rotations
very well.
All right, next is Blitzcrank.
Beep boop, fuck you.
Blitzcrank.
Blitzcrank. I got nothing to say against him. He, in my opinion, has a job and he does it incredibly well. That job is, I'm going to exist and exert pressure. You will fear the rocket grab or you will be punished.
He's the hook, man. I don't have any problems with Blitzcrank. I think
He's incredibly binary. He's incredibly linear. And that is his strength and that is his weakness. He misses a Q, you jump. You pull the trigger now.
I think at worst he's obnoxious because he does just get to run you down. Because sometimes he doesn't have to land a grab. If that person's bad, what they'll do is, they'll just haste up to you with W and punch you. Or they'll haste into like 500 range of you, in which case you can't dodge the hook at that point. It is too fast.
You really won't.
It is too fast.
Unless you have godly reflexes and you flash that. But yeah, Blitzcrank, as a whole, 10 out of 10. I got nothing to say against him. He's well designed. He's incredibly old. He doesn't need anything to do his job.
I think at worst he falls into like the jungle pressure problem, in which case you do need outside help. Which is to say, that was the sort of thing we said about Aatrox, is that, sometimes you do need jungle pressure or he will force you to lose. But I think he does it in such a way that it's not necessarily oppressive unless he's coupled with someone who is already broken, like say a Phillips.
Correct.
In which case, that's not Blitzcrank's fault. That's not his fault.
That's just whoever he's paired with.
Yeah.
So Blitzcrank, you're fine. My thing, keep doing your beep booping and punching people.
Just keep hitting that 100 AP rocket grab into ult combo.
That is one thing that does.
It is some decent damage. It will
That's
hurt.
how you know he's a product of season 1.
The 1.0 ratios on everything. He hurts, but I mean,
but no one's gonna build AP Blitzcrank outside of like Earth.
Yeah. Blitz is fine. He's like an 8 out of 10 on design wise at worst. Oh, Brand.
Let's turn it up. Let's turn up the heat and go to Brand, who.
Oh, I hate Brand. I hate Brand desperately.
I hate him in the support lane. I hate him. I hate him. I hate him. Can you tell I hate him, guys?
Brand is one of those champions where he was fine in the mid lane. He
He
was
was.
fine. There was no problems
I,
there because a mage's job is to deal damage in AoE and sometimes stun people if you can. The problem with Brand is that he has so many like tools for dealing damage and so much base damage and percentage health that he doesn't need items.
he doesn't, because frankly, his passive is absurd.
It's
There are many
actually
times where I will have said his hit is
ridiculous.
fine, with the exception of his passive. His passive is busted.
Oh,
It's
now see,
free
this is one of those champions where the numbers are just too high. They're massively high. A Brand who lands all of his abilities on 5 champions will kill that whole team. And you might say, "Oh, just don't clump up." One
It's
champion should not be killing an entire team by themselves.
yeah.
That's just facts. Like, I don't know what world you live in one where you think, it's fine. They were all AoE, so you could kill them all. An AoE skill should be balanced around the fact that, well, if it hits more than one target, it's doing a lot more, and it's always better to take than a single target ability. There should be trade-offs.
There should be.
Oh.
Hilarious, considering he's a season 1 champion too, and he's got the slight rework that was done to his passive
The
into
passive is the rework that really made him busted, though,
is,
before
because-
he just had the dot. He just
And it
had the
was-
dot.
and it hurt, but it's whatever. But now it's just this massive explosion that now conflagrates everything, and you're all on fire. Oh, conflagration is one of his E. I forgot about that
Yeah,
name.
the passive is Blaze.
Which
He
is
does
just
16% of their max health. Well, that's late game. Starts at 12%.
it's this to me.
And 12% is still massive.
That's a lot of health. That's a lot of health.
If you know... So, percentage-wise, that's an eighth. Or fractionally, that's an eighth.
Mhm.
That is an eighth of your HP. And it scales with AP.
And its cooldown is relatively short. It starts at 10 and gets down to 6 seconds on his E. So
No, I'm talking about the percentage damage of the passive will do 12%.
yeah, and I'm saying the conflagration working with that. How do you dodge a targeted ability?
Uh,
You don't, unless you've shown yes.
well, see, here's the thing though. In mid lane,
So-
it's fine to play against Brand because his stun, you have to hit minions, or it'll smack into minions. His W, long range, but you're also fairly long range. In
Yeah.
bot lane, you don't get that luxury. You have your support and you have your auto attack range, and when you go up for CS, he will smack you with the W, and then you suffer. He will hide in brushes. He doesn't have to waste any of his skills. This is what used to make Annie ridiculous, but then I think
People discovered Brand in the bot lane.
people discovered that poke champions were even better because you could hit the AD carries for free. You can farm off of them with the blue support item, gain gold while just harassing, and it's just a very bad mini game. So you give up tons of CS while they just gain passive gold from their support item, and then Brand will kill you because he lands his passive. It ticks, dealing 3% of your max health, and then
Over 3.
he hits you 2 more times because he stunned you, or his AD carry is like Caitlyn or something, forces you into the pillar, and then you take another 12%, so you are now 15% down.
Oh, and suddenly they hit level 6, and now that pyroclasm is bouncing between two people.
That's the other
You're
thing. Pyroclasm doesn't have
In the
anyone to
solo
bounce
lane,
off
it
of
was
in
weak.
mid lane.
In bot lane, it's superly strong.
In
It's
bot
stupidly
lane,
strong.
it's disgusting because he can ult the two of you, and it will automatically bounce between you. What is it? 4 times?
Yep, 4
bounce
times dealing
4
magic damage.
times.
If
You guys
pyroclasm's
both have blaze stacks. Those will go off. He will kill you.
Yeah.
Brand is just... I don't like the passive. The
I don't like the
passive is
passive.
really
If it wasn't for the passive, he's fine.
I think they just need to scrap this passive. It was a bad idea. It was never a good idea. And, I mean, at best, you take away the percentage health damage.
It was problematic to me even before it became this massive explosion.
Ugh. I mean, old
So-
Brand I never saw popping off like that. New Brand, I have seen him just delete a whole team with maybe like... He lands his combo on one person, are two people, and then it just chains everywhere and deletes them all. It's like, oh, okay, that's fair. And it's not the worst thing. Brand's skill floor is like 2 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
It's not hard to play Brand.
You just gotta know how to. Hell, at worst, you eat somebody.
You
Now they're on fire automatically, and if you do it just right, they're stunned because you just threw your Q out.
like you sit in a brush as a support. You wait for them to go up for a CS. You W under them, E, and spread it everywhere. And then while they're running away because they're low, you stun them and auto them to death. It's just.
Yep.
It's
They're
not
dead.
hard. His skill floor is garbage.
In the bot lane, in the bot lane, it's so much harder to play him in the mid lane. Why play him in the mid lane when you can just go bot and get immediate reward?
Yeah,
So my
he's
verdict
just-
for him is solo lane, he's fine. Bot lane, get him out, please. Please.
He is one of the he's one of the stars of the should never have been allowed to support and is an active detriment to the lane. Like, if I could, I would ban Brand every game just for that chance. And I don't actually know why people don't abuse him more. It's just strange to me. But I mean, maybe
kind of boring to play. He's kind of boring to play.
He is boring. He's very boring. I guess people think like, oh well, he can just get hooked by a hook champion, but
He'll kill them too.
he will kill
You're doing him a favor at that point. All right. Bring me to you. Pillar. Conflagration.
The verdict on Brand,
Bolt.
he would have been fine as just a mid laner. His design is actively warping support and still and has been for years now.
Yep. Let's cool off with some Braum.
I already made that pun with Ash.
I know. He's the heart of the failure, though.
You should have
He's
said
in our
let's
heart.
douse the flames. The tilt.
Guys,
I love Braum.
I like him from everything. He's not problematic.
He's got the best voice lines. Oh, it's so fun. If at
Braum-
first you don't succeed, tell me, what is it like? Just so savage.
He's just so wholesome. He's a wholesome guy.
Yeah, he's just. I mean, it's like he knows it's a game too. Oh, it's great. Let's try that again.
Looking at his entire kit as a whole, it works very well together.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was that time where, with the stand behind me buffs, where he actually gets the bonuses for jumping to a minion now too. He was actually viable in top lane for a little bit.
I think you still can if you know that wave management game. But it is
matchup specific. But
Yeah.
I was with my brother once, and I told him I'm gonna do it, and I was beating up with Camille.
Now Camille is a champion I think that actually works pretty well against.
She was doing well against me, but at the same time, she could never close out any kills because I just stun, punch. Away I go. It was incredibly annoying, and eventually got to a point where I just beat her up because what's she gonna do when I'm stacking armor?
Camille is definitely a champion where it's like she's like the top lane assassin, sort of, where like she just jumps on you and kills you and gets farmed off of that because otherwise she's not going to do much.
Yep, but Braum, he doesn't care about that. He's like, I'm tank.
Me
Go
tank, me Q, me run away.
Protect. I'm me protect, and that's what he does.
I love
His-
Braum. I don't think Braum has any problems. I don't.
Has none.
In fact, in some cases he's kind of weak. He's a bit more situational. People might cry about his E sometimes because it blocks projectiles, but I mean, he still had to eat that projectile. It's not like a wind wall. He still takes 70% of that damage from it before like level 1, rank 1.
Yep.
One thing is interesting, they changed his ult recently so that it doesn't get a knock-up. Like, it's a 0.3 second knock-up if he's right on top of you.
Is it really?
They changed it so it only has a long knock-up duration if you're far away. And I understand why they did that. Now,
Yeah, I wasn't even aware of that.
yeah. Before it used to just knock up the first person it hit hard. Now it's just based on distance, which is fine. They wanted to nerf his ability to peel when he's right on top of someone because he already has his W and
he
his
could easily jump on to the person who's getting their ass kicked, save them that way, and then just ult. And okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
It's a classic. It's a good example of like we want to firm up what Braum is good at versus what someone like Alistar should be good at. Like if you want peel, like hard peel, you should be taking Alistar and not Braum. Braum is more of a I'm going to make my whole team crowd control with my passive. I'm going to block projectiles and I'm going to buff
Initiate
with resistances. Like I think Braum is very clear cut design, very very good.
I have nothing against Brum.
And he's never gonna
very well
like he's
designed.
never gonna cheat you. He's never gonna delete you. He's never gonna crowd control you for 4 years like Morgana.
And especially because of like that change you said. That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. This is like
Riot
that's a number
to that
that's a
point.
number thing that makes sense. Like sometimes it's not just about oh they did too much damage or they crowd control for too long. It's like no they did it at the wrong times or with the wrong properties.
Exactly.
So
So
Braum,
I
he's
get nothing.
good, he's great. I don't have any problems with him, and I probably never will. I actually love playing him.
I love Brum. So
Caitlyn,
let's take a shot at her, shall we?
I hate Caitlyn. I do.
I I agree. I agree.
Caitlyn
Um,
is
Oppressive.
she's oppressive.
That
Her
is the sole reason. It's
her
not fun to fight.
problem is that she is an AD carry, and AD carries all for them for more or less have the same level of damage that they will do at the end of the game. Some of them will crit a little harder, some of them might have their kit that like enables that harder, but at the end of the day she still has 80 carry damage late game and will have it. Because the problem with Caitlyn is that she will win lane. If she doesn't, that person was bad. That's just it. You should not ever lose lane with Caitlyn because 650 range means you can abuse people as they
Or your
walk up for
jungler
CS
in bot lane and let the
every
other two
time.
suffer.
It's just yeah, she will draw jungle attention, but it's to the
She has,
point that she can kill you very easily. Oh,
and the
she.
fact that she works very well with people like Morgana or other supports who
Mm-hmm.
actively stun and bring utility or CC that way. Because suddenly Morgana hits you with a Q, you're rooted for an eternity, followed by a Yordle snap trap in your feet. Where are you going? You're going to your platform dead.
Yeah, literally. Like, wait, where's this? Where's the snare duration on this?
Hmm.
Where's I'm looking for the snare duration. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong skill.
Duration.
Rooted for 1.5. Yeah, so if you get rooted by Morgana Caitlyn, you will be rooted for 3.5 seconds. Which I
Yeah.
mean, that will
Or
kill you. That will
that's,
kill you in
that's
because again, she can auto you from outside of your auto range. So if you get snared and then snared again, she can auto you for what is it? She can auto you 3 or 4 times and
oh,
Q
and don't
you.
forget, every time she hits you with a snap trap, she gets
The
a
automatic headshot. I
automatic
don't know
headshot.
why they gave her that. I really don't. It doesn't make any sense
Because
to me.
I get why they gave it to her. They wanted to make her feel like a proper sniper because this is when I believe Jin was popping up. So
Mm-hmm.
they want to differentiate her and him. What makes her a better sniper than him, or what? Why are they different snipers? And ultimately, it makes her more oppressive.
I
Because I don't
don't
know
like
about
Caitlyn.
you, but have you ever been a tank walking up trying to clear out these things only for her to laugh at you because 1300 range?
Hmm.
Huh? Anybody? No? Just me?
There's no counterplay to the traps. Oh, other than don't walk around them. But like
No.
this is the lane has limited space, and if there are
Yeah.
threats being generated by the support, like a Thresh or a Morgana, then suddenly you lose so much of the lane to move around in, and it just becomes like, oh wow, I have to give up all my CS or I will die.
Or how do you siege up against a tower that has just been lined up with
Where
these
she
traps?
just
Like
puts a
you
line of
can't
traps, and it's like, oh, that's cool.
try to push into their base. I dare you. She has now set a barricade for you. Or are you trying to get to Baron? Ha! She's cut off half the river.
It really says something about Caitlyn that like this is just from her passive W and Q. I actually legitimately think Caitlyn could exist as a champion with just those 3 skills.
She doesn't. Very often, do you actually see Ace in the Hole actually?
Do anything
It really is forgettable.
like her ult. It just gets her a few kills sometimes. Like sometimes she didn't quite close it out from poking you down for 20 years. Oh now I can kill you now with this. It's just
You know
bonus
what's
kills.
hilarious? This is hilarious with Caitlyn though. All for one.
Oh, you just target
All
one
for
person,
one, and then
suddenly everyone
everybody
can target them.
one person with Ace in the Hole, and if they block it, well, somebody's now dead. It's hilarious.
Uh
From a design standpoint, yeah, the fact that she only needs 3 of her 4 abilities, hell, she doesn't even need her Q at times.
Yeah, the Q is just kind of like extra harass.
That's just wave clear, which she gets a certain point, boom, the one Q just did everything. Hi, my name's Siver, and I just took your job over.
It's just disgusting that she can actually do so much with just a passive and her W. because she doesn't need the E unless, she's put in a situation. Don't ever put me in a situation. And her ult is just sometimes she gets a few more kills. These are just gravy on a very, very ridiculously powerful setup. I cannot stress enough how powerful this 650 auto range is. And again, it's not like Ashe. She has all these other tools that are punishing you at the same time. And the ult becomes oppressive because she has harassed you down with her autos, with her Q, with her traps, forcing you to take more damage if you want any CS. It's just oppressive. And then, again, on top of everything, she becomes an 80 carry late game. She will crit you to death from 700 range because of a rapid fire cannon.
And again, if she's on the winning side too, if her team is pushing an advantage, she's going to constantly push up. Those traps become... What do? How do you play around them? They
become jungle bait at that point, because then your jungle comes and then she just kills you because you walked on a trap that you couldn't see in a brush because they're not very visible.
And you're trying to ward, but guess what? You're in the wrong place, buddy. You're in the wrong place. So,
although this is a good time to drop. If you are a jungler, don't gank losing lanes. That will get you killed, and you will make it worse. Cut your losses.
And I get that the bot lane will be raging at you.
They will be flaming. They will be screaming and whining, but they don't know how to jungle. They don't know. Ignore them. Mute them and camp your winning lanes if you've got any, or just farm up. It always feels bad, but you gotta. You're
probably not gonna win, I'm afraid to say, but it happens. It happens.
Yeah, Caitlyn, she's disgusting. No champion should be strong early game and late game, because then where are the windows of power that where do you fight her?
Yep,
it's just bad. It's bad design, just real bad.
Now I will say, if she's behind, she's
useless.
But
that means she was bad. You didn't win because
you won because the person playing her was bad at it.
And again, the skill floor for playing Caitlyn is again, it's 2 feet above the ground. She doesn't have to land skill shots. She just autos you every time you walk up for a minion.
Let's hook shot our way into Camille now.
All right.
Speaking of
Caitlyn, 1 out of 10. Would not make again.
My verdict on Caitlyn is also about a lot better than his, but it's just mostly because
I'm just biased.
I don't deal with her. That's why. So Camille. She's just oppressive, superly oppressive, and I don't like that. But Camille is... She doesn't fit in every comp, and she has a lot of matchups she loses. Which
Camille
is
a split pusher.
She does her job. She's this, assassin-y diver. She wants to get onto your backline, and she does that job very well because she has the kit to do that. And
I think my memory of Camille is a bit colored from Release, where her numbers were overtuned and she would just kill everyone with true damage.
Yeah,
I don't know how good she is now. I will say,
from
a design perspective,
she's solid. She's solid right now.
I don't think Camille's busted.
No, she's not.
The interesting thing about Camille's damage window is you have to wait for her damage.
Again, that's what she's about. She's all about precision, and they captured that very well. Everything about her kit is all about rewarding the patient hunter, and I love that. You could recast her Q to get that quick extra burst, or you could wait that 2 extra second. That what is it?
It's 1.5 seconds, which is kind of an eternity in a duel.
It's a long time, but it does well.
I think
everything about her is all about precision. Her tactical sweep, you have to hit it just right, otherwise you lose damage and you don't slow. Hook
you
shot.
You don't heal either.
Hook shot it's a utility, jumpy, diving move, whatever. But then her thing that makes her dangerous is the Hex Tech Ultimatum. Her ultimate. She has now isolated the back line. What's that? You were grouped up. She doesn't care. Get away from me. This is between me and your ADC. This is between me and your overly fed mid laner. I'm gonna whoop their ass, and she dies because she was already behind. But
I think Camille at worst can snowball and get ahead, and then you can't get away because her range of mobility is
She
pretty
she
long.
does some damage. She
It is
she
pretty
hurts.
high. But the thing about Camille though is that unlike Aatrox, she can't punish you for going for CS nearly as easily
No, she has to commit
because
to. And the thing about her is she has openings where she is vulnerable. If you're a jungler, you can coordinate the wait for her hook shot. All right, bait the hook shot, bait her into that false assist
she
gear.
has to go into melee range, which is again something I've stressed before. Needing to go into melee range is a lot more dangerous than people give it credit for. That's why I don't think Akali is necessarily as busted as you think, because she needs to be right on top of your face, man.
True.
That means the jungler can punish you. And it's not like Caitlyn. She can't kill you from 650 range easily. Camille has to be on top of your face, and it's so easy to punish that with a good jungle gank.
I agree. So Camille's my verdict for her is 10 out of 10 would play again.
I think she's good. I think like sometimes you gotta watch your numbers a bit.
Yep. She's
And
she's fine. She's well balanced in my opinion.
yeah,
With this, Jesus, I'm gonna have to stop us here.
fair enough. This has been like a whole hour, I think.
Something like that. So we'll tune in for this was A through Camille. So if
Aatrox to Camille.
top lane of top row of the wiki list. So we'll pick this back up with Cassiopeia
Okay.
to God knows who else. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to two nerds ramble and rant and rave, and hopefully show our opinions. And I hope you guys either chime in and showcase your own.
Mm-hmm. Goodbye.
Goodbye.